but recovered for third. But one corner later, number 41, Tim Dunn went around, and multiple champ Jeff Miller spun to avoid him, but was promptly collected by number 42, James Steinhelfer. Still later in the lap, Ben Beasley running in second, outpowered leader number 20, Mike Bergers, going side by side through the corner. On the final lap, Tim Dunn went off course again while running second, but up front, Ben Beasley put a 1 minute 51 second drubbing on the field. He saluted his crew as he took the checkers, earning the Beasley family's 4th straight national championship. The name Beasley and Runoffs Gold are synonymous. They started with Father Al Sr., son Al Jr.'s had success as well. But the man of the moment is Ben Beasley. He's won 3 of the last 4 national championships, and the year he didn't, well, he loaned his car to brother Al, and Al took the gold medal. Ben's going for the family's 5th straight. But he's got to go up against Jim Steinhelfer. Jim has won the Rocky Mountain Division already this year. In last year's race, he had it coming together early on, got it back together, went out, fought his way to 4th in the adverse conditions, just missing a step on the podium. There are other contenders as well, and David Hobbs is standing by with, a matter of fact, a gentleman who was all over Jim in last year's race.
Well, his close associate in that altercation was Jeff Miller, who DNF'd last year here at the Runoffs. But Jeff really can't complain with 6 national championships to his credit and at least 10 poles. We think 10 poles. He says he thinks it's more like 20, but of course he's a driver, so what can you say? Next to him, Jack Lucilli. Jack Lucilli's had a bit of a troublesome year with his car this year, but he's also had a 1st, a 2nd, and a 3rd, which gets him to his 1st ever national championship Runoffs. And Richard Leslie. Richard Leslie is the current Northeastern national champion with 4 wins this year, so he is going to be a very strong contender this afternoon.
The Runoffs are very much about variety, and no class captures that spirit perhaps better than C Sports Racing. Creativity and invention are the hallmarks of this class, but it ends up making outright pure speed. And it's now time to find out who's the most creative, both in the garage and on the track, as we go after a C Sports Racing National Championship at SCCA's Valvoline Runoffs, the 39th edition of this National Championship chase. And for the 9th consecutive year, it is being held at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. David, take us on a tour.
Well, the Mid-Ohio course at 2.4 miles is one of the most fun courses in the United States. 15 turns, as you can see, a lot of straightaway. From the finish right up to that chicane in the top left corner is almost flat out. Turn 1's almost flat out here. The keyhole in the top left is very important down that long back straight, and then starts at the S's. Very difficult to overtake here.
Very difficult. Let's head down to pit lane for the first of our 2 pit reporters, Brian Till.
Well, Greg, you said it. Creativity and invention, and that's what this class has always been built around. Jacek Muka starting in a very late model Atlantic chassis with fenders that have been put on it. But Richard Leslie, this may be the thing to come. It's a purpose-built C Sports Racer chassis. It may not be invention anymore. It may just be all by design in C Sports Racing if these guys have their say at it in this new radical chassis. Let's check in with John Bizignano.
Well, thanks, Brian. You've seen the car number 26 for years. David Brent Dieberg has been running this car as a Formula car in Formula Atlantic. You say, this doesn't look like any Formula car I've ever seen. Well, underneath all this bodywork, there is a 1988 Ralt RT4. The car was no longer competitive as a Formula car. He has changed it to a sports racer. Let's see how that Formula car chassis does with some fenders on it.
Well, that's exactly what we're talking about, creativity. And if you find something isn't working, you'll find a way to make it creative. But Brian Till is right. Radical and a couple other chassis makers are starting to design cars specifically for this class. Drop an engine in and go fast. Things may be evolving here in CSR.
Now this here, that's the drain plug.
Of the SCCA Valvoline Runoffs is brought to you by Valvoline. You can always tell the guys who use Valvoline. Welcome back, everybody. The field is underway. We want to take you right to the Valvoline starting grid to introduce you to the combatants here today. And we're going to take a look at it. Ben Beasley won from pole last year, and he started off well. He has put his number 1 championship winning car back on the pole here. There's Jacek Muka and Jeff Miller, Richard Leslie, Russilli, Vandenberg, Steinhelfer, Metzger, Charlie Coleman, and Skip Reaver. Now, this is a field that's a little short at this point in terms of number, but there's some awfully quick drivers and some great creativity in this class. And David Hobbs, we talk about sports racers. There's a couple different classes. Tell us about C Sports Racing.
Well, C Sports Racing is right in the middle of the pack there. You see purpose-built road racing cars, as we've already seen from our pit reports. These cars, some of them are home-built, some are built off Formula Atlantic chassis, which obviously is a full racing car. Obviously got fenders around them, open-top car, and these really are just like a Formula car with bodywork on. A lot of different engines there. Some very interesting engine conversation in there.
And they run very, very quickly. I mean, the pole time here, a 1:24.048 by Beasley, and it broke the track record he set here in 1999. We'll be riding on board with Jeff Miller, qualified third. Miller, one of those drivers with a tremendous history here at the Runoffs. He has 6 gold medals, the first one coming in 1976. So Jeff Miller has been a frequent competitor at the Runoffs for a long time.
He certainly has. He, of course, runs with a 6-cylinder Kohler engine. Kohler out of Kohler, Wisconsin.
It's very interesting. He runs with that. A number of the drivers run with 1,000cc motorcycle engines. There's in a couple of cars in the Ralt. You've got Mazda's. Beasley's car runs a rotary as well. It's a great mix. But that car right there with the big R on the side, the Radical, some people think that might well be where this is going at this stage, because of the fact that they could build the chassis and have found a way to do it relatively cheaply at that. Let's check in once again with our pit reporters for some last-minute thoughts. Brian?
Well, you know, we talked about creativity, and Greg, you know, part of the problem with creativity, it's like stepping into the laboratory and mixing a bunch of chemicals. Sometimes it works well, sometimes it blows up in your face, and one of the problems with these cars sometimes is they are so stressed, they're trying to take things to the limit so far to make them work in this class that they blow up in your face, quite literally. So dependability is always an issue in C Sports Racer. We'll have to take a look at it and make sure these cars make it to the end. John Bizignano?
Well, Brian, we've talked about the short field in this class, but it takes a lot of engineering know-how to keep one of these cars on the track and actually to build one. There are several manufacturers out in the wings that hope to bring this type of car to more of a production race car schedule where people can go out and buy the cars and run them rather than have to sit in their garage all winter long and tweak something into what's called a C Sports Racer. Next year, there should be some more cars.
Well, that's a very good point. That's one of the reasons that the Beasleys, who used to run those super high-stressed 2-cycle engines, and they started to experience the problems with reliability, they went to the Mazdas in their cars. You see Muka there running, that's essentially an Atlantic car with an Atlantic engine. Miller's still running the old-school approach with that highly stressed 2-cycle engine, but a lot of the other drivers using much more proven, reliable equipment, and it's made the racing pretty interesting. Very close in the front 2 cars here, but behind that, it's a little rough. We may be having a problem with our onboard camera. We let you know about that. Here we go in the green, and Miller times it beautifully, and that car has a lot of power when it's working, and he comes down the inside, but he's so far to the inside, David, he has to overslow to make the corner.
Yeah, unfortunately, whoa, looked a bit twitchy there going up the hill into 7 for the first time. Lost a little bit of time there on the 2 leaders, Beasley and Muka, but Jeff Miller made a brilliant start. I thought he was going to outbrake them both into turn 1, but was not to be.
And Vandenberg gets around Jack Rosilli and picks up a spot. That blue car right there, the Ralt chassis, the Atlantic chassis that he's reconfigured into one of these CSRs, and he's done it. He's gone in and reconfigured and re-engineered the entire car, as opposed to Jacek Muka, who just drapes some carbon fiber body panels over the side pods of his Atlantic car and calls it a CSR. And these 2 guys right here, they were within 1/10 of each other and qualified both underneath Beasley's track record from last year. These 2 cars, especially when the tires come up to temperature, are just blind fast.
Turn 1 there, the fastest corner here. You need a bit of aerodynamic downforce. As you can see, Beasley's gone for the high wing, Muka going for the very low wing on the back of that Formula Atlantic chassis into the chicane for the first time. Very fast. Now, this is the key corner of this Halter racetrack, the keyhole. Just right there, there's a nasty dip. The road falls away, and that's where you want your most mechanical grip, because you want to launch yourself down the straight. And Muka's got right under the tail of Beasley. He's getting a tremendous draft.
Boy, he hooked up coming out of that turn.
Very well coming out, but he didn't. And here he goes. He was going to go on the outside, now he's going to go on the inside, but Beasley hangs right in there.
Tell you, that Mazda engine in Beasley's car generates some really, really stout power once it gets up into the power band a little bit. And Muka, you can see him, he was in the draft, and then Beasley started to pull him. But Muka's car really comes alive on the twisty bits here. One, it is, oh! That's
Beasley. I mean, yes, that's Beasley.
That's Rosilli, actually. And then the Radical is Leslie. I mean, they both had a big hit. Got the corner workers' attention. They went in suddenly and very quickly. Leslie looks like he might be a little stunned there. Now he's starting to try. Maybe he's chatting on the radio to the crew. And there's Russilli, who went in nose first. And a lot of that fluid, folks, by the way, not necessarily coming out of any engine. That could very well be just gathered up in those tires.
Those tires from the rain we had in the last couple of days. So Russilli and Richard Leslie. Richard Leslie, we saw at the top of the show, a winner this year. Here we see it's coming into turn 6. Oh boy, and what was Richard Leslie thinking of there? He got around him and then just absolutely nailed him going up the hill to 7, closed the door right on him, forcing the car Russilli onto the grass, and Russilli came back up, and wow, that was
a solid hit. They got in there pretty good, and we have a full course caution has just come out, and the question now becomes, did Muka get that pass completed before the caution came out in that section of track? I think we may find that Beasley's back in front here by direction.
I think so. That was not very smart driving there by young Richard Leslie, I have to say. I don't know what he quite thought he was going to do there.
All I can imagine is that maybe he thought he was clear.
But he was clear, but he wasn't really clear, but he just absolutely forced Russilli right onto the grass.
Yeah, Russilli was well alongside at that point. You have to allow a little racing room, or what happens will happen. And that was indeed the case. So we'll come back, and Muka in the lead, but Beasley might be there when we return.
Kind of like the roar of Charlie Kuhlman's Dragon on his C Sports Racer. Charlie's known as the father of sound control, Dr. Decibel. Charlie, how did you come by these nicknames?
Well, back in 1960, Laguna Seca was deeded by the Fort Ord people to the county. The county people said sound control. And I was there for that first race, and it was somewhat chaotic. And I figured all we need is a good engineer to take over. Little did I know.
Well, he's known as Dr. Decibel because when he goes to see those cars that are too loud, they know him by Dr. Decibel, not by his name, Charlie Kuhlman. Can you imagine how loud these things would be without these mufflers? You know, they say don't equate noise with speed.
Well, and in particular these days with the popularity of the Mazda engines, boy, they put out so much noise without a serious muffler on it. There's Charlie Kuhlman, and he calls the car the Puff Dragon, as you can see. And right now, Charlie running in the 8th spot at this stage, and he's been racing these cars for a long, long time. And he's one of the people that has been a true supporter of this class. And he may not quite be on pace with some of the other guys in the Young Lions, but Charlie Kuhlman has the heart of the line and has been around in a real factor in C Sports racing for a long time.
Jack Russilli not going to be a happy camper. We're about to see a replay now of the crash. We'll see what happened going down the straight. There's Richard Beasley goes on the inside there. And then Absi just moves right over, just pushes him right onto the grass. Meanwhile, Russilli continues at unabated speed and rejoins the track right into the side of Beasley. So that is a case of the biter getting bit, mate.
Now here's what we talked about, the pass under yellow, and there's a yellow light that goes on right at the end of this straight. And Muka, this isn't a problem. I mean, he wasn't trying to do something unfair. He just had to run, moved over, and there you see the yellow came up, and he was not by. At the point of that yellow, when that came up, he was not clear. Then you see the yellow light, but it's more not when that light was on, but when it came on and that yellow flag came out. And when that yellow flag was up, when he went by it, he was not by. So I would suspect they'll have Beasley move around. Well, for more on this, maybe we get some clarification. Let's check in with Biz.
Well, car number 26, David Vandenberg, the man we interviewed on the grid who was hoping to put that RT4 forward. This was down into the intake. The intake was totally restricted. He was in the pits for quite a time, but the yellow flag's out there. I don't know if he lost a lap or not, guys. There's a lot of noise down here. You tell me.
I don't think he did. I think he certainly lost some time, but of course, fortunate for him, he had the yellow then. David to be able to get in, get that taken care of. He'll lose a few spots, but with the speed he was running, he was 4th when that happened. He ought to be able to get right back up into the fray here.
Richard Beasley, that is a beautifully turned out car, that car of Beasley. There's no doubt about it. It's a beautiful car. Very well done. Look, they're not going to, I mean Leslie, I keep calling Beasley's Leslie's, but they've left. I'm amazed. They've left Muka in the lead. I just don't understand that. It was quite clear the yellow was out.
I don't think there's any question. Oh, and Vandenberg off as he was trying to catch to the back of the pack. Wipes his visor, and I think probably in frustration, just like, what was I thinking? And he's slowing. Has he lost a tire? No, that's there. I don't know exactly what happened. But as we come up here for this restart, Let's go back and take a look at that one more time, because this is a bit of an issue here, I would think. And as I said, it's very clear. The rule says you can start a pass. You have to complete the pass before the yellow comes out. Now here he goes, David, and watch when that yellow displays right in the bottom of the screen.
The bottom of the screen, you can see the yellow flag waving quite clearly, which it obviously didn't just come up here. I mean, it was already up when he went by. He's not even by yet.
He's not by.
There's the flag, and he's clearly passed under the yellow.
So, and I'm sure it wasn't an intentional thing. He started the run, and you're focused, and he may not have caught it. But the yellow was out. But that flag is the telltale, and we're back to green. And Beasley trying to rectify it on his own since he didn't get any help from the officials. And Muka having none of it. This gives Jeff Miller another opportunity here. But the problem, you talked about it earlier, the wide track. You look at how wide the lead car is. You look at how wide Beasley's car is, and then look how narrow Miller's is. That's a chassis he's been running for a long time, and it too just cannot run with these guys.
No, and Muka there at the beginning there, it was quite clear that he was trying to get around Beasley, and if he had got around him, I suspect he's going to drive off.
Beasley did get pole, setting the track record, breaking the one he set 99, as I said, but Muka was within a tenth. I mean, he's that close. And you can see how much they've already opened the margin up over Miller, and it's just so tough for Miller right now. Miller's time in qualifying was about 3 seconds off of these guys, and I think that's just Miller's a good driver. There's no question of that. It's just technology has stepped far enough forward now that Jeff Miller's got to be scratching his head, wondering what he's going to do if he wants to keep playing in CSR.
Well, Jeff Miller, of course, got 6 gold medals here at the Runoffs. The last one was in 1996 in this division, and he first won a gold medal in this division back in 1978. Another previous winner of this division was Jim Truman back in 1975.
Of course, was the owner of this beautiful track here at Mid-Ohio, and it's still his family that continues to run it, and it is truly one of the elite road courses in North America. Just a phenomenal facility. The track itself is a driver, and as you can see in the background, a fan favorite, as are the Runoffs. It's the SCCA National Championships, the 39th edition. It's the Valvoline Runoffs right here at Mid-Ohio. Glad to be bringing it to you here on Speed. C Sports Racing is the class under contest right now. And David Hobbs, not a lot of cars in this field, but the top two very, very close. And this has become a mono battle at this stage right now. But we're still wondering a little bit about the situation before the restart. Brian Till, any news?
Well, I talked to the officials down here in pit lane, and all they would say is, we are aware of it. It's being looked at. And I said, so that's as specifically general as we can be. And they said, that's right, we are aware of it. It's being looked at. But John Bizignano, I think you're standing by with somebody who wants a little more than having it just looked at.
Well, they're looking at it very closely down here in the Beasley pit, that's for sure. And the word is, to them, it was 100% a pass under the yellow. The cars came underneath the start-finish line where there was a yellow flag out, and there was a very visible yellow flag going into turn 1, and that's when the 0-1 car went by. As far as they're concerned, the race is over. They've already told the SCCA that there will be a protest, but we may get a penalty on the 0-1 car before all the lawyers take over. But right now, Beasley thinks he's won the race sitting in second.
I must say, I can't find it. It just doesn't seem to be that difficult to me. I mean, looking at what? I mean, it's pretty clear from our TV pictures what happened, and they can see that the same as we can, and they can see it real time as we can. They could have done it right there under the caution, under that lap.
And here's another look at it right here, and it really comes up. There's a white line they'll go by right here, and he's not by there, and that's where that flag is. It's very clear. But David, this race, the Runoffs, is run to SCCA club regulations, not pro regulations, and very few SCCA club events have TV, so they have very specific rules because there is no video that they can go back to, that a lot of it has to be handled via protests and penalties as opposed to black flags.
Every corner has a whole,
worker,
exactly.
well, that's true. If a corner worker is calling in and saying this was done and there's a yellow, you can always make it good. You can always opt for that because the rule book called the CSR allows the officials to be able to make that kind of change. The GCR, it's called, the General Competition Rules. Here's Skip Reamer right now running in the 6th spot. Skip really had some problems in qualifying. couldn't even get on track for the first 2 qualifying sessions. And then when he came out for the other one, he wasn't really on pace. And this is what we're seeing here. Reber right in front of Charlie Coleman. And these guys right now are well off the pace, running very slowly right now.
Very slowly off the pace.
But they're battling at this pace.
But you can see that they're a much narrower car than our 2 lead cars. These guys are going with the old narrower track cars, a much narrower car, which just doesn't have the stance to give it good grip through some of these corners, especially like that turn 1 there, which is a very fast corner. Very high wing on the Charlie Coleman car, as you can see, well up over his head there, well up in the airstream. There's no doubt about it. He's got plenty of downforce on the rear.
Well, I think the problem might be is they've got more downforce right now than they got power. They both have been struggling all event long trying to get power, but they didn't want to miss this race, and they're having a good race. It's just that about maybe, 2/3 the speed maybe at the front of the pack. Coleman obviously has a little bit more grunt, the engine department, at this stage, and Reber, it's just been an exercise in frustration ever since he got here. Right now, there's Jacek Muka opening it up, and I think there's an exercise in frustration going on in the Beasley pit right now as well.
Figured out how to race essentially the same car in 2 different classes. That's his Formula Atlantic car. And if you look at his C Sports Racer, it has the same chassis, but he's added the bodywork to make it a C Sports Racer. 2 different cars, but it's got to be 2 different driving styles.
Well, no, the cars are quite similar in handling. We really don't know which one makes more horsepower and more downforce, but they are pretty similar in handling. We are going about the same time in both of them.
And which one do you enjoy the most?
Well, so far we're quicker in a C-Sport Racer.
Down from Canada, looking for 2 championships in almost the same car.
Well, you normally like more the car you're quicker in, and he seems to have an affinity for the C Sports Racer. We talk about the different things in this class, the engineering, the level of competition. Budgets also play a role, and he obviously has a little bit of budget to be able to play at the very top end of this game. Beasley very close. David, before we get on to that, I want to get back down to Brian Till, because Brian, we're still kind of mulling over this rules scenario. Do you have any further information on it?
Well, yeah, Greg, you were talking about not making a decision now until they were sure of all the facts. In club racing, a little different than pro racing, and I talked to the officials, and that's exactly what they said. They said, we don't want to have to try to undo something that we did on the racetrack. So we're looking at it, and typically in club racing, we like to take care of the matter after the race, and that's all well and good. But my question is kind of like what David was saying. You still got a race to run. If these 2 guys get together racing for a position that shouldn't be, you can affect the outcome of the race by not doing anything. So I can understand them wanting to make sure of it and not affect the race, but by doing that, they may indeed affect the race.
Well, they've all got, it's a pathetic excuse. They've all got radios. They can talk to the corner marshals. They know exactly what happened, and they know exactly what happened at the time it happened. To have some sort of a protest after Muka has got, say, the gold medal, and then they say, oh, sorry, Jack, we've looked at the tapes and we've mulled it all over. Now we decided you haven't won it. That's much worse than saying to him, drop back behind Beasley now and then race it for the lead.
Well, and I think there's one other thing to just touch on very quickly here as well. I talk about that a lot of these races don't have TV, they don't have video, they don't have that. But a lot of their races don't have a huge crowd that's paid a lot of money to see racing. And what they're depriving them of right now is restarting the race in the correct order and letting these guys race. And they've taken that away. And I think it's unfortunate. And obviously, I'm connected to the corner workers as I do a lot of that. And you're right. We're on the radio. And I'll guarantee you there's corner workers back there that have been talking about the fact that that was the scenario and have given them a number of witness statements. Let's check back in again with Brian Till.
Well, Al Beasley, obviously you guys aren't happy with what's going on here. You won this class in 2000. Your brother's won it 3 times. You think he's leading it today, but you'd like to see him move Jacek out of the way, obviously.
Yes, it was a blatant pass under full course yellow, and Ben should be out in front right now. I'd like to see him bring him in for the stop and go the way they should, but it's up to the SCCA stewards. They know about it, and it doesn't. We'd like to win it out on the track, not in the impound area, but he's got it won no matter what.
Well, as sure as you are that he passed under the yellow, do you tell him to go for the lead anyway? Because if they don't change it, it's to whoever comes across the line first.
He's going to go. He's going to go for it, but he's going to do whatever he wants. If he can, he will, I'm sure.
Well, the Beasley family knows all about winning in the sports racing class. Like I said, Ben's won it 3 times. Al's won it once. They're going to keep going for it, guys, but they're smart racers.
Well, Brian, you heard David Hobbs on the last 3 laps. Beasley has been crossed up in a couple of different spots in pursuit. He just came through that carousel absolutely sideways, trying to prove the point that he deserves this one, and as opposed to getting it handed to him. And he is in full pursuit mode right now, and obviously driving with a little bit of steam building up under the collar here as he's getting it crossed up. And the fact of the matter is, they didn't even have to do a stop and go. Let's take a look at this right here. Look, watch Al.
In the carousel here.
Ben, yeah.
Ben Beasley gets here and it just comes to the apex of the corner. Look at this, just a beautiful drift. He holds it just right, no overcorrection, snaps back in line. So easy to overdo it on the correction there. He did a great job there of handling that, but he's losing time, and of course his tires are heating up.
Great job as well, and Brother Al said they should give him the stop and go, but I got to get back to the point. The pass happened before a yellow. A simple wave him back to the front. This is all averted, and it's unfortunate. We'll be back. Ben Beasley, he doesn't want this one to be settled after the race with a protest. He wants to win it outright and prove a point, I think. And now he's coming up on some traffic, and John Bizignano. Jacek Muka's been throwing down some great laps, but now he's got traffic in front along with Beasley behind.
Well, Jacek can handle that. Of course, he's a terrific racer. I think Beasley wants it to stay this way just so he can have some fun out there. But there's 2 sides of every story. Muka, we talked to the crew. They are our guests from French Canada, and I wish David Hobbs or John Putty were down here to get the real meaning of everything. A lot of head shaking going back and forth. But they say they love the past and they didn't see any yellow flags. So I think everyone's going to be in the TV truck after this one, guys. My question is, someone's going to get a gold medal here, and that should be awarded to someone who really deserves it.
And it should be awarded to someone who's going to keep it. Over the top of the madness there, Beasley's car still showing a lot of signs of tail happiness. You see the trouble, every time he does that, he puts more and more heat into those rear tires.
Oh, but he's thinking. He almost thought about a move.
He almost thought about it. He definitely thought about it.
Almost made it.
Almost made it, yeah. He's thinking about it all the time.
Boy, Beasley is just absolutely flogging this car right now. Oh, more traffic coming up.
In front of him at the carousel.
Watch this here again.
Here we see them coming up to madness. This is turn 6 and 7. Tries to get on the inside, but Jacek Muka is leaving no room on the inside. And as they come over the top, look at that beautiful slide. I tell you what, he's driving his car like a dirt track car, hanging onto it beautifully there.
Got to be awful concerned, though, about just rooting those rear tires when you keep that up for too long.
Got me a bit concerned. He's got 6 laps.
Oh, Jeff Miller's done.
Jeff Miller for the 2nd year in a row is out of this race. Last year he was DNF.
Well, let's head down to Brian Till.
Well, Jeff Miller certainly knows how to win this thing. He won it in '96, but Jeff, awfully quiet as it rolls in here. Sounds like something's not working in the back.
Well, we've got a little bit of an engine problem. There's something vibrating pretty bad, so we just had to shut it down. I don't know what's wrong with it. There must be something broken.
Well, that's a smart guy. He says there's something vibrating in the back in the engine compartment, so they just shut it down. You know, he's won this thing before, but he's got a good feel for the car. There's no reason to run this thing if it's going to grenade out on the racetrack and make a mess for everybody else. So, smart professional guy. He pulls it in here and parks it for the day.
And a lot of money for him, too, if the thing blows up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he's a sportsman as well as a great racer, and his battle up at the front continues. And one of the guys looking under that engine cover was Jeff's son, Jason, a D-Sports racer with great success as well. We are back, and it is working very well right now for Jacek Muka up front, but Ben Beasley continues to hound him, and in certain spots here, there is no doubt Beasley, it looks like, is the quicker car, but in other spots, I'll tell you what, Muka is able to draw away, but right here, Beasley makes up a lot of ground into the keyhole, and then in the S's.
I think that, to be quite honest, I think that Beasley is out-driving Muka at the moment. There's no doubt about it. I can't believe that Beasley chassis is only like as sophisticated as the Rolt chassis that underneath Muka. And I think that Beasley is just putting on a brilliant display of driving as we look at the 42 car.
That's James Steinhelfer, qualified 7th. He was 4th here last year. We visited with him right at the very top of the show, and he now has found himself in the third place. That's the bronze medal. So he's, if he can stay put, he'll have improved one spot in terms of the finishing order.
What he would like is
winning his class, really.
He would like Muka to have a stop and go for him.
He would love that.
Then he'd be second.
Here's your fourth place runner right now, John Metzger. He runs in the Central Division, and it's a Beasley B2. That's the body work. Beasley's really involved in this class with the chassis underneath. Really, there's a number of different chassis options you can run, and he is coming up now on Dr. Decibel, trying to put Charlie Coleman down a lap. Charlie sees him coming, waves him through, but look at this! Traffic, and it's Steinhelfer, and the top two are now lapping the field, but Beasley was apparently able to use Steinhelfer as a pick. He's in the lead.
Well, I tell you what, and Beasley's quick through here, and he's also quick through the chicane, so maybe he'll be able to pull out enough lead to hang on to the lead. He seems to be quick through here, but boy, those rear tires worry me just a little bit.
Let's watch him here through the keyhole, and you got to get out here, and if he right there, he gets it a little bit loose. But that time he
holding a much
rotate.
tighter line through there. I think he's got more grip than the Beasley car. The Beasley car running out of grip now. We've seen those tires. He's 16 laps gone, so he's got 4 more to go. This is where the Muka car was quicker before down the straight. You see rubber coming off the track. Whoa! Trying to outbrake it here, boy. Up into 7.
He's done it. Ooh, pushes a little wide there, but this is where Beasley's quick in there. And here's another look at the pass.
It's at the carousel. Muka is trapped by Steinhelfer there. And Beasley goes around the outside on the dirty part of the track. He's in the grey, he's in the dirt, the rolled up rubber, but Muka gets totally boxed in there by Steinhelfer, who they're lapping.
Well, and Beasley drove that. He saw that developing. He had to, and he used it to perfection, didn't he?
He did a beautiful job there, did Ben Beasley. Absolutely outstanding piece of driving there. And he's right out there on the wrong side of the road. He's got all that dirt and grime out there, so he's losing grip. But he hung on there very well at keeping Muka boxed in behind Steinhelfer.
So Beasley is on the move now, and Brian Till, it was a beautiful pass that gave the lead.
Boy, it was impressive standing right here watching, and I think what you saw there was the calm and the skill of Ben Beasley, the experience in this class. I jokingly asked Al, his brother, I said, how much did you guys pay Steinhofer to block him like that? He said, Brian, I don't even have a radio.
Well, hey, you got to read traffic, and I mean that's as much of it as anything. There may only be 10 cars in his class, but Beasley timed it beautifully when they got to traffic, and I think he feels he has something to prove in this race, and he may have gone a long way to doing just that. Ben Beasley now in the lead here in the C Sports Racer National Championship race for the SCCA's Valvoline Runoffs in Mid-Ohio, and he has opened up his margin just a bit.
He's opened up a huge lead. What with Muka? Whoa, boy, oh boy. He's just sliding that car around like a kid with a new toy. I mean, it is staggering to watch him. It's so exciting. He's got this car so beautifully controlled. I'm just a little bit worried about his rear tires, but he doesn't seem to be worried. He still holds a tight line through the carousel there, so not got a problem there. Pulling away very fast now from Muka in the Rolt.
And I think it might be more Beasley right now, but John Bizignano, we've been speculating about different power plants and different power.
Well, down here where someone in third place actually gets lapped by the first and second place cars. You won't see that anyplace else at the Valvoline Runoff. The problem is the first and second place cars both have Mazda power. They're at 300 horsepower in the 26 car. It's their own motor, a 1300cc two-stroke that's only developing about 250 horsepower. So he's 1/5 down on horsepower compared to the Mazdas. That's another thing that has to change.
That's exactly right, and that's why a number of drivers that have been running the Formula Atlantic type cars with those engines in here, those Atlantic engines at best now run about 250 horsepower, and so you plop one of these Mazdas in the back and you get 50 more horse. That's huge, especially at a place like a Road America or a Laguna where you're climbing hills and the like. It's a big hill.
And of course, it makes a transmission choice difficult too sometimes, because then you've got all that much more horsepower. You're going to have to change things in the transmission to put it up with it.
So Jim Steinhelfer finds himself well placed at this point, really, for the bronze medal. A little frustrating for him, certainly, that he'll be a lap behind that battle up front. But you almost have to wonder. I mean, certainly those two cars up front, Beasley and Muka, were quick anyway. There's no question of that. But I think this may have become even more of an intense battle with what had developed regarding that yellow flag and the like. They were going after it. And a very solid run here for John Metzger. He, too, missed the first qualifying session because of a problem. The next session, he was only turning 137s. At the next session, they got some of the engine problems figured out. He trimmed another 3-4 seconds off of that. But he has been struggling, frankly, and it's in this race itself where he finally sounds like that engine's a bit healthy, and it's brought him now up into the 4th spot. And there's Dr. Decibel, Charlie Coleman, running now in the top 5, even though he's well back at this stage. Still in all, he's competing at the runoffs in a national championship and running in the top 5. So give him some credit, but that car is still just not real healthy at this stage.
Not one of the closest grids that we've seen. Charlie Coleman qualified 14 seconds slower than 16 seconds slower than Ben Beasley. Ben Beasley, you know, I mean, he's putting a lot of daylight between himself now and Jacek Mucha, but the fact is that in qualifying he was 9/10 of a second quicker. So that's the sort of gap we thought we'd see. But Mucha drove a terrific race there, having got around him. He held him at bay for a long time, but Ben Beasley, once he got around him, he just disappeared.
There's the pace there that you're seeing, and Beasley just turned a lap at 124.9, and here he comes onto the front straight, and Beasley picks up the checkers and another national championship, his 4th by my count in 5 years, and this team and this car is 5th straight. That's a remarkable run as well here, just an incredible effort. In his last lap, he won right before this final lap. He turned at about 0.8 of a second off of his qualifying pace, and it was fully 3 miles an hour quicker than Mucha. But let's go right back down to Brian Till, a happy brother watching.
Well, Al Beasley Jr., it seems like the Beasleys own C Sports Racing. For a while there today, it was kind of questionable. How much of that desire after Mucha got past him, the questionable call, was it that drove your brother back to the front?
Ben doesn't want to back off for anybody or anything. Just to show you that, before the race, he said, take the rev limiter out and throw it away. So we took the rev chip out, and we knew it was going to be a tough race the whole way. And I'm glad we were able to win it out on the track the way that it should have been. It's just a great weekend. The Hoosier Tires and Redline Oil just put us where we needed to be. And it's all the support from the family and friends that really makes it worthwhile, and just a great weekend for us.
A lot of experience and calm on the part of the Beasley family. You guys have won so many races, but how calm were you when you watched them come side by side through the carousel and make that pass for the lead?
I have complete confidence. I mean, I'm more nervous than he is. I have complete confidence in his driving. He's one of the best drivers out there. So, you know, if it's there, he's gonna make it happen.
In so much confidence, what position did you keep showing him on the pit board every lap?
P1 the whole way.
It was always P1, guys.
Trying to maybe rein him in just a little bit, but Ben was going to have none of that.
Al himself, of course, a 2-time national champion, 86 and 2000.
Absolutely no question about it. A couple of quick stats for you. 1 caution for 2 laps and an average speed of 94 miles an hour for the race. That's quick. We'll be right back to visit with our champions.
The new Track Pass with Pit Command. Log on to America Online, go to NASCAR.com, and test drive it now. NASCAR.com, America Online, keyword NASCAR.
Speed Channel's coverage of the SCCA Valvoline Runoffs is brought to you by Valvoline. You can always tell the guys who use Valvoline. Well, the race is complete. Here is your look at the top 10, and it is Ben Beasley, Mucha, Steinhelfer, your 3 medalists. As we take a look at the unofficial results, let's get right down to Brian Till with our winner.
Well, Al Beasley Jr., not the prettiest trophy girl around, but I think his brother will take the gold from him. And Ben, another great national championship. But how much determination, extra determination, did you get a few laps in when that blue car went by?
Well, he went by under a double yellow. I knew it. I had backed out of it. And I just wasn't going to win that way. I knew they gave me the 1 board. I was in first place even when I was behind them, but I was not going to win like that. I just wasn't going to do it. it would have been so hollow. It would have been unbelievable.
And the pass that you made in the carousel, I mean, I have not seen a better pass here at Mid-Ohio. A lot of strategy there. Was that something you had set up before, or you just had to take your chances when you can?
I don't know. Everything that I do and everything I am is just a blessing from God. And he just gave me wisdom. He told me where to go, and that was the place to be, and I snookered him.
That's a professional racing term, guys. Schnookered. He got schnookered. And let's get down to the guy that got schnookered. He's with John Bizignano.
Well, Jacek Muka, they say you got snookered on that pass. Tell us about that pass towards the end there when you were leading and that big yellow car came by.
Oh, well, I was leading, and I think I have a little bit of lead, and we came on a back marker. At the same time, my engine started doing something which I don't know what it is. It's some small mechanical gremlin. And on acceleration from the last corner, Ben was quicker, and after that my engine wasn't up to snuff, and he ran away from me.
Jacek, a little bit of controversy about your pass into the lead. Did you see a yellow flag?
Yes, I see the yellow flag once I finish my pass.
And there was a yellow flag at the start-finish and going into turn one?
I didn't see on the start-finish. I see the flashing light.
And the pass itself you felt was clean?
Yes.
Okay, well, there we have it. And this car had to be pushed into the pit lane. So, in some ways, very lucky to have it still running at the end of the race.
Well, thanks very much, John. And I think, indeed, a race driver looks down track a long way, and I don't think there's any question that he may have missed that yellow and saw the double yellow of the lights. But the fact of the matter is the flag was there, and we've seen it. There's no question of it. And so as the result, Ben Beasley found himself leading before he thought about it was at this stage. So here's a look at our results. There's James Steinhelfer. He gets the bronze. And Metzger, what a good comeback after struggling all weekend here to come good in the race itself, end up in fourth. Coleman in fifth. Reber, he struggled. Jeff Miller and David Vandenberg, who knows how this may have unfolded had those two gentlemen stayed healthy. Certainly the race for the bronze could have been a bit more involved and interesting, and not quite the run for James Steinhelfer. And then, of course, you take a look at Leslie and Riccioli, who had the incident early on at this point. But while Ben Beasley enjoys another lap of honor around here, we've got another medal winner. He's with Brian Till.
Well, Jim Steinhelfer, they say to finish first, you first have to finish, and you might not have won the thing, but you finished, you got a podium and a bronze.
I did, and I couldn't be more pleased. I had so much support this year from my wife Anne-Marie and son John and Mark Mercer and his crew that just really took care of me and gave me a really good car here. You know, we made a lot of changes just before we got here, and we're still dialing it in, so I'd have liked to have been a little more competitive, but I think your words are exactly right. To finish first you got to finish, and this time we finished it, and we were running strong at the end. A little more to go towards the end there, but we had a great race, and we just couldn't be more pleased and more proud.
You know, they say that this C Sports racing class, it's kind of like an experimental class. It's mixing a lot of chemicals in the lab. It seems like you guys are going to keep mixing and working on a better car?
Absolutely. You know, like we changed the wing, we changed the shocks, we changed everything before we came this year, but we had a really sound, fundamental car. And the weather gods were kind to us here this year for the first time in a while, and we really got to run and see what we could really do. You know, next year we'll come back and have a little bit more for Ben and Jacek, but we had a great race, and we just couldn't be more pleased.
Well, they say it's an experimental class, and you heard him mention the family. It's the family that's helping him mix the chemicals, and they're looking to be back next year. Let's get down to fourth place with John Bizignano.
Well, John Metzger had a great run, but he doesn't like being lapped. John, you've got a Form Atlantic motor in this car, and you're thinking about a change.
Yes, we're hoping maybe go with Toyota Power next year. Give us a little more equal playing field.
How much power would that add?
Well, I'm down right now probably 25, 30 horsepower to those folks.
That's got to kill you on these long straightaways.
Well, I think if you notice me going down the straightaways, those guys are going by me like I was sitting still. I could pretty well hang with them in the corners, but, you know, just no power on the other end.
And what about the chassis itself? This was a Formula car made into a sports racer?
This is an RT5 chassis. Ben Beasley actually built this car, too. It's just a different power configuration.
Did he build it the same way he built his car?
I wouldn't think so.
I think we see a Beasley customer here in the future. Congratulations.
Okay, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Well, what they say, There's Ben Beasley right there, and they say imitation is the greatest form of flattery. And I guess if you can't beat them, you got to join them, and maybe that's exactly what they'll do: is find themselves a Beasley chassis.
Well, that's the way to win all the races as the Beasley family. Al and Ben win all the races, get all the pole positions, get all the cups, and of course sell all the cars as well. So it's great.
And in this category, we talked a little bit about there's a Radical chassis that's coming along. So there are some options that these guys can run in the future if they want to pursue it. And that Radical chassis, like the Beasley chassis itself, you could drop different engines in it. And we may see this class evolving a little bit as to its approach in the future. Well, we thank you very much for joining us today here on Speed for our coverage of the C Sports Racing National Championship. It was a very eventful race. Remember to check out speedtv.com, online information about all things motorsports. Thanks for joining us here. For David Hobbs, Brian Till, and John Bizignano, I'm Greg Kramer. We look forward to visiting with you again right here on Speed Channel. Until then, take care, everybody.
At the runoffs on lap 2. Runoffs here at Mid-Ohio. Larry Connor took the lead from the pole sitter, Keith Lively. Connor, the defending Formula Atlantic runoff champion, dominated the race. Keith Lively did all he could do to keep the leader in his sights. And with just 3 laps to go, Connor's 10-second lead evaporated as the left rear wheel started to come loose. But Lively, with a gear problem of his own, ran out of time. Larry Connor became just the 3rd driver in Formula Atlantic history to get back-to-back national championship wins. The quickest cars in the SCCA runoffs are next. You want speed? Well, Formula Atlantic will give it to you. These are the most sophisticated cars in the runoff paddock. And right out of the box, Mike Biancardi took his Toyota-powered machine and broke a track record that had stood here for 8 years. We know he's going to be very, very fast. And how about the beautiful Blue 07 of Jacek Mucha? He's blown down from Canada in his Mazda-powered car to try to put the chill on the field and earn a national championship here in 2002. These are just 2 of the fast guys. Let's go to Dorsey Schrader. He's got a few more.
Well, Keith Lively and this beautiful Rolls have got to be everyone's kind of favorite pick to win this year. After all, on the way here, he's won 3 times before, and all of that with the fuel problem. He couldn't get the thing to run full throttle. Guess what? Today, they found the source of the problem. He's running really good. Next to me, David Wilcox. He's the Midwest Division champion in a Ralt as well, but an older one. This is an old Ralt DB4. Doesn't stop David from going fast. He's won 4 times this year, and this is a young lion wanting to get to the front. Let's see what happens.
The Valvoline Runoffs, Sports Car Club of America's National Championship Showdown. The season-ending race to determine the number 1 and gold, silver, and bronze medals. You're there on Speed. This is Formula Atlantic, and it is the fastest field in the entire weekend of racing at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. The 39th running of the Valvoline Runoffs and the 9th time in a row we have been here to Ohio. Let's take a look at the layout.
Beautiful racetrack here, Mid-Ohio. It's perfect for these fast cars. 2.4 miles in length, 15 turns in that, and 20 laps. These guys will do the 20 laps faster than any class here, as they are really, really fast race cars.
Let's take a look at the Valvoline starting grid and how they will begin. Mike Biancardi, as we mentioned, broke an 8-year-old track record with a 1:19.839, by far the fastest lap around Mid-Ohio this weekend. Larry Connor second. And you see the rest of the field that will start this race. We've got some pretty fast cars out there, and a lot of them. We expect them to give us some good, tight competition. Now let's check in with the first of our 2 pit reporters. Here's Chris Neville.
Well, last year we saw that Larry Connor came away with the victory, but he did have a failure, and that failure occurred on the left rear back here. He had a bearing problem. What the team did in the offseason is they went to an aircraft products manufacturer, and they said, we need some custom bearings made for this left rear upright. They wanted to make sure there are going to be no mechanical failures this year to hopefully assure Larry another spot in victory circle. A little bit further back on the grid, Guy Hobbs.
Thanks, Chris. We're down here in 5th starting spot with Arsene Yelkin. On Thursday, Arsene had a horrible crash here at Mid-Ohio. He had to go to hospital. He was there for 5 hours. The car was pretty much demolished. They took some parts off it that they could, and now they have a brand new Swift 008 that they'll be running here. They put some of the parts from the old car on that were savable, and now Arsene Yelkin will go out and try and run. Remember, these cars have not been on track since Friday, so 2 days. This is the first time they've seen it. GT1 cars have put some rubber down. These guys are going to go out and put on a good battle. Arsene Yelkin running with the Toyota power and the Who's Your tires.
So Dorsey, the cars are getting set to go out, and on slicks, they have to have some concern at least about the weather that continues to roll through the area. Sometimes the sun pops out, sometimes it's overcast and cloudy, rain threatens, and it's certainly cold.
They're going to have to make sure they get heat in the tires, and I sure would like to know what the tape was on the front of Arsene Yelkin's helmet. Did you see all the tape on the nose of it? Of course, you got your face right out there at 170 miles an hour, so that we're talking aerodynamics here, folks. So I don't know what that's all about.
Well, we'll have to check on it just a little bit. Guy Hobbs is right there, and we're sure that he will. But these are the men and their machines that'll be racing in just a few moments. So we'll send them on their way and come back and wave the green flag on the Valvoline Runoffs.
Now this here, that's the drain plug. It lets the oil drain out into the pan. Remember, she's got a lot of mileage on her, but one day she'll be all yours.
Help keep the family car in the family with Valvoline's Max Life. Max Life, the first motor oil specially formulated to recondition used seals to help prevent leaks, helping your higher mileage engine run for a long, long time.
After our naps, we'll flush the radiator.
Now there's an entire line of Max Life products that'll help keep your higher mileage car around for a long time.
Whether you're on a straightaway or a twisted road, Kumo's always ready for the unexpected. Ultra high performance, passenger, and truck tires. World-class quality and value. Kumo. Way to go.
Iron Maiden. Edward the Great, the greatest hits. The new compilation from the band that set the standard for hard rock. Featuring 16 of the best tracks spanning Iron Maiden's entire career. Edward the Great includes all the hits like The Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills, The Trooper, The Wicker Man, and many more. This is the definitive Iron Maiden collection. Act now and receive a limited edition Edward the Great poster. Supplies are limited, so act fast. Iron Maiden. Edward the Great, the greatest hits. Call the number on your screen now. Rush delivery is available. Up the irons.
Speed Channel's coverage of the SCCA Valvoline Runoffs is brought to you by Valvoline. You can always tell the guys who use Valvoline. As we promised, we'd send them on their way, and there they go, out onto their siding lap to warm up the tires a little bit here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio. The Formula Atlantic National Championship of the SCCA Runoffs. Let's take a little bit closer look at just what's under the bodywork there.
Everything that the imagination will allow. This is the fastest car and the most sophisticated car aerodynamically here. Full ground effects, even though it's a flat bottom car. These are like Formula One cars. They have a tremendous amount of grip. They only have, well, there's different engines that you can run. Most of them have a 1600cc, 4-valve, twin-cam Toyota, but there's also a Mazda motor in here, and this class was derived around the old Ford Cosworth. So some of these older chassis might, in fact, have a Ford Cosworth.
All right, so we have Ralt chassis, Swift chassis, and a pretty good mix of machines out there. We're going to have an onboard camera for you, courtesy of number 66, Keith Lively, and he is starting in the number 3 spot. That's the view you will get from him. 2 race cars and a pace car up in front of him. And let's go to Chris Neville for an update on this car.
Well, last year Keith Lively was definitely making a run to the front, but he couldn't quite pull it off. And what his problem was is he said the track was real tight last year, meaning he was having a lot of understeer problems and he couldn't loosen the car up. So he ended up burning the front tires off the car and couldn't get the victory. Now this year, he's saying the track has loosened up quite a bit. He's more comfortable with that. He thinks he has a good setup, so he thinks he's going to get the victory today. Back down to Guy Hobbs.
Dorsey, you had a question about all the duct taping around the helmet there of Arsene Yelkin. I don't know if you remember, but David Embringham used to do that all the time, and it's basically to try and stop the visor from fogging up, although I can't see what conditions were making fog up, but it did look like it may rain earlier, and I think that was a precaution in case it was going to rain. It's not going to rain, but it is fairly chilly, overcast. Getting heat into the tyres is going to be one issue. They only had a 10-minute warm-up this morning, and that was the first time they've been on the track in 2 days. So it's going to be kind of interesting because this track has completely changed since they last raced on it.
Good point. Take a look at these tires, folks. You see those little white marks on them? All through the tires, those are pieces of rock that he has not got cleaned off yet, and he's only a half a lap from the start. Those tires are not going to have the grip that they need unless he can really be more aggressive about shaking that stuff off of it.
Not unlike a studded snow tire on pavement is what that would be with all those little gravel pieces. A lot of these cars pit not on pavement or not in the garages. There's almost 700 cars came here, and so naturally there wasn't enough room for everybody to pit on pavement. So some of them have to drive through the gravel to get to the grid.
And these tires are very, very, very sticky. They pick up every single little thing they run over. Most guys would bring it to the grid on rain tires and switch them out. But that particular shot we saw, you can visibly see that there is rocks embedded into the treadless tires, and they're still there.
And they're still there indeed. Some of the corner workers signaling around the racetrack. They've been on duty all week long, and they have done a fabulous job here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And most of the drivers will wave at the workers when they go by, and many of them even carry little signs or stickers. Thanks, workers. Thanks to the workers. Couldn't do it without them. Ready to go green here. The green flag is up there in the distance as you watch from on board Keith Lively's car as he starts in third. We're heading towards the flag stand right now, and we're going green. Behind pole sitter Mike Biangardi, looking for his first championship. Larry Connor, their defending champion, started in second position. Lively is right there, and wow, Larry Connor has dropped back into third.
Yeah, didn't get a start he wanted at all. He dropped way back there.
Biangardi out in front right now. Came here and broke the track record, and he really threw down big time with that car. He's out of Rolling Meadows, Illinois. And Biangardi has been a very, very confident man all weekend.
These guys have very soft tires with the amount of downforce the cars make. A cool day like this makes big horsepower in those engines. This could be a track record type of a day for them.
Oh, everybody loose except for Larry Connor. He managed to rail through there pretty good and make up some ground on the leaders, both of whom were a little bit loose. So heating the tires is still an issue.
Absolutely, and I think that's exactly what we just saw there. Both those cars went into a four-wheel slide right in the middle of that corner. Larry Connor looks hooked up. He's got a run coming now, headed up toward the keyhole.
Yep, he is right there, along with Rennie Clayton running in second position. Your leader is Mike Biangardi, and Connor really closed a lot of ground on Rennie Clayton, and now he's challenging him for the number 2 spot. All this dicing is helping Mike Biangardi out in front as Connor takes the position, runs Rennie Clayton up onto the curb there, and
Rennie was way wide up there in the keyhole. Never got the car to turn in. Larry saw it, went inside of him, and I think it just continued understeering. The car would not turn in, and it just got further out, and finally went up on the curb.
So two-time and defending champion Larry Connor now setting out after the leader Mike Biangardi, who tried to make the most of a good start, and Connor being trapped behind a couple of other cars. Let's see if Larry Connor can run down the leader right now.
Pretty impressive with Biangardi breaking that track record, but I'll tell you what, Larry Connor, only 5/1000ths of a second slower, so I'm not, we're both right there knocking on the door.
Well, absolutely, and that was just a little bit of rivalry going on. There wasn't a lot of difference in time between the two, but the fact that Biangardi got the track record and not Larry Connor was definitely a little bit of in your face. Now Mike Biangardi is leading the race, and Larry Connor is trying to chase the man that broke the track record that he had broken just a few minutes before that. Here are your top 10, the way they run right now. We'll be right back to sort them out after this.
Former U.S. Marine, drill instructor, Vietnam veteran. Now he's facing his greatest challenge. Your questions.
What does GI stand for? What kind of grabastic unorganized question is that?
Join R. Lee Ermey.
Can it, numbnuts? Now listen up. Want to know how to drive a tank? How a gas mask works? What dog tags are used for? I know all the answers, so ask the questions, maggot.
Mail call, Sundays, on the History Channel. Ask at your own risk.
The year in racing. NASCAR Winston Cup. From Marlin to Johnson, Martin to Stewart. It was a championship race to the very end. Take a look back at the season that was. The highs, the lows.
A guy that messes up that many times needs to go back and learn how to drive.
And all the action that made the 2002 season great. Speed Channel presents The Year in Racing. NASCAR Winston Cup. Thursday night at 9, exclusively on Speed.
Do you have good credit?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you only think you have? Do you know how to check your credit report and find out? A surprise on your credit report could mean you'd be turned down for a mortgage, a car loan, even a credit card. Which is why you should log on to freecreditreport.com. At freecreditreport.com, we'll show you how to find out online what's in your credit report, who's been checking it, and whether everything's accurate. So log on to freecreditreport.com today. You're going to do it now, aren't you? Great. Now, how about you?
This year in Formula Atlantic, one driver is trying something that has never been done before. Larry Connor has won the previous 2 runoff races in Atlantic, and this year, only his 4th year in Formula Atlantic, he's going for the hat trick, 3 in a row.
Yeah, we came here in 1999, finished runner-up. We're fortunate enough to win it the last 2 years. This year is probably the most competitive field. We got a good car. I like our chances, but our work will be cut out for us.
Well, to win runoff races, you've got to be good, but it also helps to have a little luck of the Irish with you.
Larry Connor running in 2nd position right now and trying to run down the leader, Mike Biancardi. How about that, Chris Neville?
Well, I just spoke with his crew, and they felt that they probably should have gotten the pole. They've been really happy with the setup all weekend long. However, in qualifying, their jetting wasn't right, so they didn't get everything they wanted out of the motor. But they got that figured out. Now they've got a car that they are 100% comfortable with, and they think he's going to the front.
Right now, the front is represented by Mike Biancardi, and there you can see the difference between the 1st and 2nd place cars. Larry Connor in 2nd position. Going back to the battle for 4th position, Austin Yelkin and Keith Lively in the blue car.
Like I said at the beginning of the show, Keith Lively, the guy I talked to, has had trouble with his carburation. And what would happen was we'd get up around 9,500 RPM and the thing would just nose over. It wouldn't run. When they finally got to the runoffs after a whole year of this frustration, they find the problem right here and they've got it fixed, or at least they think they did.
So Lively trying to take the number 4 spot away from Austin Yelkin. So far has been unsuccessful, and now you can see what you were talking about. The little gravel pieces on the tire pretty much disappeared at this point.
Yeah, those are history. He's got some heat in him now.
Especially the left side tire there is showing nice and slick as he comes out to make a move in the braking zone. Keith Lively takes the spot from Austin Yelkin and has moved up to 4th.
Good clean pass right there. That was a great view from on board there. You can look out over the tires and see that they're clean. You can also see that the shiny spot doesn't go all the way across the front of the tire, that the contact patch that meets the road isn't full width, and that's because of the camber or negative camber that they put in that car for the corners. If we looked through that corner, when he went through the corner, the tire would be completely slick across, all the way across.
Keith Lively in the number 4 spot. I have to ask the question that with the cold conditions here, are we going to see very different race cars as these laps progress, or have they already pretty much come in?
They should be good by now already. These things make enough downforce that they